These experts who studied true crime their entire lives never imagined they would one day become prey in an elaborately orchestrated, flawless murder game. Within a single day, at this remote mountain motel, 6 people perished, each death horrifying in its own way. And the killer was among them. Someone pointed out that the person who first discovered a body is often the killer, covering their tracks. Immediately, their suspicious gazes focused on Paige. Blake noted she was the one who led everyone to Crow's body. Paige argued she heard it through the vents but was instantly rebutted. No one else had heard anything. Now, suspicion turned to Andy, whose physical fitness was seen as enabling the crimes. Floyd wasn't spared either. Old grudges and new conflicts intertwined during arguments. Someone accused Adriana of inciting violence against Ruby, leading to her innocent death. The room neared chaos, everyone lost in accusations and rage. Just then, Adriana spotted a figure in the forest outside. They instantly swarmed, tackling him to the ground. Amid the chaos, someone shouted to kill him. The man's voice trembled as he cried, "You know me." The next second, everyone froze. It was JP, the driver who brought them to the motel. Back inside, they took him to the freezer holding all the bodies.
See what, we didn't exactly roll at the welcome mat.
The sight of so many corpses caused JP to break down completely, screaming that he wanted to leave. But before he reached the door, Blake slammed him against the kitchen counter. JP couldn't process what he'd seen. Bodies, internal organs, flowers stabbed into a victim's abdomen. He screamed hoarsely, demanding what cursed place this was. Paige rushed to calm him, reminding him it was temporarily safe, but JP remained hysterical. Someone suspected JP was the killer. JP shakily swore his innocence, even offering to swear on a stack of Bibles. Those present scoffed, stating faith granted no privileges here. As tensions mounted, Adriana noticed glass shards embedded in JP's facial wound and demanded an explanation. JP defended himself, saying he lost control and crashed his car, trapped for hours until running out of gas and battery, forcing him to trek through the woods. But when JP pulled a handgun from his pocket, everyone tensed and stepped back. JP urgently explained it was purely for self-defense. Years of night driving in the city taught him to guard against drunk passengers or carjackers. He carefully set the gun down, pleading not to be misunderstood. As the atmosphere eased slightly, Adriana and Paige tended to JP's wound. Blake insisted JP must be the killer, questioning who'd abandon a car's safety and warmth at night to face wild animals in the woods. Floyd coldly retorted, "Only an idiot or a murderer." His words lit the fuse, sparking a heated debate about whether to disarm and confine JP. The women angrily accused the men of ignoring their input, demanding if they weren't considered team members. The air crackled with sarcasm and curses. Floyd went as far as to humiliate Adriana with vulgar language, pushing the situation to the brink of collapse. Adriana instantly grabbed the gun and fired a shot into the ceiling. Silence fell. She then declared she and Paige would take the gun and retreat to their room. She invited Shirley to join them and publicly drew a line. Any man carrying or claiming to carry that thing would not be allowed inside. Blake furiously demanded if they were deemed potential killers solely for being male. Adriana calmly countered, 85% of murderers globally are men. That's indisputable. She believed leaving a group of men with raging hormones together would only invite greater danger. The women barricaded the door with furniture. Adriana exhaled deeply, finally feeling somewhat safe. The room's mood softened as the 3 women shared jokes, briefly forgetting the danger outside. They teased it felt like a staring contest, laughter echoing in the cabin. Even with doom at the door, they clung to this sliver of warmth. Conversation soon turned to past relationships. Paige recalled her ex-boyfriend who used to set up treasure hunts for her after work, ending with a small gift as a surprise. But it ended when he left after landing a recurring role on a major show. A C-list actor's life clearly wasn't the future he craved. Though Paige spoke lightly, her tone held faint regret. Shirley comforted her, saying she would eventually meet someone who would accept her completely, just as she and Floyd did for each other, complementing one another in many ways. But when the topic shifted to Adriana's romantic preferences, the mood turned subtle. She admitted she liked bad boys, but Adriana's fascination with serial killers puzzled Paige. How could this dangerous attraction translate into a real, healthy relationship? Adriana could only offer a faint smile in rebuttal, stating that killers are real people too, even citing Dennis Nilsen, the notorious serial killer who at least loved his dog. She continued, "Serial killer Ed deeply loved his mother. If someone like that can understand love, then why can't I find someone who can truly love me?"
Because they hate and destroy women.
Your heart wants what it wants.
Okay, I've been judged enough for today, all right?
Adriana, it's not judgment. I just really don't get it.
Paige clarified this wasn't judgment, but genuine incomprehension. Adriana couldn't help confessing her secret. She admitted feeling attraction only toward those who'd committed extreme acts. She liked those who were different and unpredictable. Outside, Andy kept staring at Floyd.
There, 1 minute longer, I start charging admission.
I know it's you.
Now watch my guilty ass head off to make a BLT.
Seeing this, Blake stepped in to intervene but got shoved by Floyd, making Blake furious too. During the argument, they discovered the wound on Floyd's back. Facing their questions, Floyd stammered while recalling the earlier hallway incident. Suspicion instantly spread like a plague. Inside the room, Shirley performed a tarot reading for Adriana. Cards flipped one after another, the mood shifting from playful to grave. The Three of Swords appeared, representing lies and heartbreak. The Ten of Swords followed, symbolizing betrayal and being stabbed in the back. As Shirley softly explained the meanings, Adriana's expression stiffened, her breathing growing slightly rapid. Then came the Seven of Swords, the Tower, Judgment, Death, the Hanged Man. A cascade of cards signifying destruction and upheaval covered the table. Adriana coldly mocked, "This is your so-called love and light?" But Shirley's tone was firm. Drawing so many sword cards consecutively was no coincidence. She calmly warned Adriana, "The universe is warning you. Change your path, or else." Before she finished, Adriana's composure shattered as she screamed that she'd tried countless times but couldn't escape her inner darkness. Her voice trembled, tears welling. Her heart-rending fury briefly silenced everyone. The conflict outside intensified further. In his panic, Floyd pointed the finger at Crow, claiming Crow had ambushed him from behind. Floyd suddenly lunged, punching the unsuspecting Andy to the ground. Chaos erupted instantly. Seeing this, Blake rushed forward and tackled Floyd, the two grappling fiercely. Nearby, JP tried to intervene but got shoved aside by Andy, a stabbing pain shooting through his wrist. JP declared them all insane and fled into Paige's room. In her agitated state, Adriana reflexively pulled the trigger. JP died instantly. They then locked Adriana away. She wept, insisting it wasn't intentional. The group discussed their next steps. Shirley coldly noted Adriana had threatened them with a gun, nearly causing more deaths. This behavior couldn't be dismissed as panic, but a clear danger signal. They decided to lock Adriana in the motel's back storage shed. She begged them not to, swearing it was accidental. Late that night, Adriana escaped through a skylight, only to be caught by Baphomet. She struggled desperately, her screams drowned by rain. Without hesitation, Baphomet dragged her deep into the woods and slit her throat. Inside, Paige grew worried about Adriana, so she asked Andy to come with her to check if Adriana was all right. When they opened the storage room door, they found it empty. Following footprints outside, they discovered Adriana's body in the forest. After carrying her body inside, Blake suddenly aimed his gun at them, declaring, "One of the four must be the killer." Andy quickly raised his hands, trying to diffuse the tension, but Blake cut him off with a sharp rebuke. His composure shattered, and he roared, "I'm done pretending to be friendly." He then tied them up. Blake's gaze turned icy. He stated everyone was a suspect, no exceptions. Nervous tension unsettled them all. Paige tried to defend herself, explaining that she had only been hired by Ruby at a high rate at the last minute, so there was no way she could have planned anything, let alone done something so insane. Blake coldly exposed her past, a fallen scream queen blaming all life's failures on those case study films. Maybe she wanted to erase the works that ruined her reputation, cleansing her past shame. Paige shot back that the motive was utterly ridiculous.
You know me. Not the Scream Queen me, the real me. I seem at all like a real...
Booker fell silent for a moment, his gaze complex, but finally uttered chilling words. Precisely because it seems implausible, it makes the perfect cover. He then turned to Andy, his voice dripping with sarcasm. How twisted must one be to write a whole doctoral thesis dissecting a notorious mass murderer? Blake deemed Andy a ticking time bomb who'd eventually crave first-hand experience, until he killed. Now he shifted focus to Floyd and Shirley. He demanded to know if the storm had really just blown them here. He didn't believe such a ridiculous story. In his view, Floyd was a hunter, a man who once boasted after drinking about how much he enjoyed the thrill of chasing prey. He accused Floyd of having a violent temper, always on the edge of losing control, and reminded everyone that they had all witnessed his anger firsthand. He then pressed further, bringing up Crow's death. Blake claimed Crow privately told him Floyd threatened him in the woods, with Crow murdered via a nail driven through his skull. Wasn't this Floyd's hunting escalated? Blake's gaze then fixed on Shirley, his tone venomous. He pointed out that while Shirley seemed intelligent and approachable, her choice to stay with Floyd showed she was no simple woman. He ridiculed their disguises, questioned their gentle retiree personas, and declared they were far from innocent. Shirley couldn't help demanding, "What gives you the right to decide others' fates on mere suspicion?" Blake's response sent chills down their spines as he claimed all four present had murder motives, and the only certain innocent was himself. Floyd tried to counter, demanding why they should trust that he wasn't the killer. Blake roared in fury, stating if he truly were the murderer, he could shoot them all dead, right now. His furious voice mingled with the thunder outside, echoing through the room and sending shivers down their spines. The room plunged into suffocating silence. Floyd conceded Blake had a point. The killer was among them. Page knew Blake's judgment was based entirely on gut feeling. If someone acted harshly, he claimed they were the killer. If someone acted too gentle, he didn't believe them either. Such absurd logic kept them trapped in endless fear. But Blake's eyes grew more resolute. He responded, "This isn't madness. It's the only way to survive." He recalled being hunted by a sadistic killer years ago, and every scar, every knife wound on his body reminded him of a cold truth. In such a desperate situation, you could only fight for yourself. The atmosphere had completely frozen. Under dim light, Blake stood at the center. Page tried questioning if Blake truly intended to kill them. Yet Blake only coldly replied, he wouldn't slaughter indiscriminately, but someone must confess or they all die. He demanded Floyd speak first. Floyd challenged why Blake always targeted him. Was it his plain speech, lack of polished looks, or past clashes? Blake deemed Floyd the most dangerous person here. Floyd asked what justified suspecting him and his wife. How could a man traveling with his spouse in an RV be a killer? But Blake remained unmoved, pressing further. He sneered that history held no shortage of killer duos. Floyd protested his innocence. Shirley defended her husband. Blake then turned with a knife, stabbing Floyd's back to force a confession. Floyd babbled incoherently, claiming he was just an ordinary man wanting a quiet retirement with his wife. Seeing Floyd still flatly deny it, Blake picked up the gun again and aimed point blank at his head, yet he lacked the courage to pull the trigger. He stormed into the storage room to drink for courage. Andy told Page to reach into his pocket. There was a folding knife. Blake murmured to Adriana's corpse, "Only by finding the killer can I prevent the tragedy from happening to me." A flicker of madness flashed in his eyes, as if he had already made up his mind. Andy had just gotten the knife when Blake returned. Andy nervously suggested they stay tied up and let Blake leave alone to find the police. Blake only scoffed, stating slowly, "Police never helped him. He survived terror alone once. Now he must rely on himself. And these so-called experts, they never truly experienced the hell he endured." Blake recited each dead name, voice quivering with rage. He recalled every time they thought they caught the killer, and every time they were wrong. Shirley retorted, "What if he's wrong again? What if the real killer's still out there, ready to strike?" Adriana was killed outside. Blake's face twitched, his tone fractured and rushed. He no longer cared for reasoning. He drew a sharp breath, resolve flashing in his eyes. He wouldn't wait for tomorrow, for calm, or for rescue. Now was all they had. He raised the gun. Page screamed, "You're not a killer!" Blake plunged back into memory. During the Sigma Die attack, cornered by the killer, the man removed his mask. Seeing Blake didn't recognize him, the killer's gaze turned murderously cold. He demanded if Blake recalled the frat pledges, those forced to grovel. He spat his name, Cullen. His tone was filled with both mockery and pain. Cullen recounted the humiliating, hazing, near-fatal initiations. He roared that Blake not only allowed, but designed those torments, making him the frat's punching bag. Every encounter ended with Blake drawing a huge smile on his face, using lipstick, or worse. His voice trembled with visceral agony as he accused them of later publicly uploading those humiliating videos and photos, which spread like a virus across the entire internet, making his life completely collapse. He lost his education, his job, his family, his dignity stripped away, his entire world ruined, while the man responsible still lived in comfort. Now Cullen's rage crystallized into cold intent, staring at the man who made him smile through agony. His eyes hardened. This time, he wouldn't smile. Blake trembled, repeating apologies, voice thick with terror. Cullen remained unmoved, his stare icy as he coldly stated these weren't true remorse, just empty pleas for survival. Then Cullen grabbed Blake's girlfriend, Farah, and proposed a cruel test. If Blake took her place, walked to him willingly, and let the blade press against his own throat, he would spare her life. Otherwise, he'd slit her throat there. The air froze. Farah shook, tears blurring her vision as she stared desperately at Blake. But Blake's face changed, and after a brief pause, he suddenly turned and ran for the door like a terrified animal, without looking back. At that moment, Andy finally cut through the ropes. Blake fired every bullet in his gun and fled. However, just as they gathered weapons and coats to pursue Blake, Floyd stopped everyone. He said Blake was no longer a threat, because Blake had not only suffered a fatal wound, but his gun was useless, and he wasn't wearing any cold weather gear. If they locked all possible entrances, even if hypothermia didn't kill him, blood loss would. So they secured every door and window against Blake's return. Elsewhere, Blake collapsed on the cold road and looked up to see Baphomet slowly approaching in a snowplow. The machine's spinning blades gave off a low, menacing hum. In the next second, the blades tore through his body without mercy, flesh and blood spraying from the side of the machine in a scene that was suffocating to witness.